location and you guys divvy it up and take it home? Is that how that works?
Yeah, exactly. The food is delivered to a central location. Every CSA is different. It's sometimes for the vegetables, usually you just get what was picked that week.
Sure.
And for other foods like meat and milk, you place your order and you place a specific order and go pick it up in a central location. So this worked out. This has been working out great for us. And a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was asked, I've always been supportive of farming organizations of Northeast Organic Farmers Association, and they asked me to have a fundraiser for them along with the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And I didn't know what the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund did. And when I went to research that, I found out that they were defending for free all of these farmers around the country that had been raided for having co-ops, having these private clubs, and for providing fresh milk to willing consumers, none of whom ever got sick.
And this is what got you interested in starting to start thinking about making the film, right? You're witnessing these raids, hearing about these raids. Tell us about some of these raids and how far, like some of the worst raids that you witnessed and that you heard about.
They're all bad. I don't know if I could single out a worst. One of the ones that's kind of along the lines of what we're talking about right now is the Omana Storehouse in LaGrange, Ohio. A woman in my film, Jackie Stowers, she found 40 Amish farms around her area in Ohio that had no way to get their product to market. So what she did was, it was a great idea. She decided with a few neighbors that 1 week she would go out to all of these farms and get eggs, meat, produce, unsprayed vegetables, whatever, and bring it back to her house, and her neighbors would come pick it up. And then the following week, another neighbor would go out. So they were sharing transportation, and sharing the time in order to get the food back to a central location and picking it up. And unfortunately, the Ohio Department of Agriculture caught wind of this, and their response was to go in with, I think, as many as 11 armed agents. And she had 8 kids in the house, and they kept the children and the adults in a room for 6 hours while they tore her house apart, took all of her food, both from her buying club and for her private consumption, took her computers. Her son was in Iraq at the time, and he called, and they wouldn't let them answer the phone. They confiscated their cell phones, all for, on the warrant, it said that it was a 3rd-degree misdemeanor, that they might be operating a retail establishment without a license.
Well, and it's crazy, and they come in, SWAT style, guns drawn, scaring the family. And I mean, it's just amazing what measures they go through. And why do you think there's so many raids? Why does the federal government want to raid small farms?
I wish I could answer that question. When I've asked government officials to speak, well, first of all, it was very hard for me to get people to speak on this issue from the government. So there are some government officials in my film, and I was extremely grateful that they would speak out. Basically, when you ask them, their only answer is it's in regards to food safety, that they're trying to keep people safe, and that's what these raids are about. Now, in my opinion, they're allowing a lot of very unsafe foods to go completely unregulated, unlabeled in their food system, and they're cracking down on the people that are trying to supply the most natural foods, foods that are in farming, cracking down on the people that are farming the way people farmed for generations before industrial agriculture really kicked in.
Well, food safety, give me a break. I mean, you've probably seen the condition of some of these big mega farms. I mean, they're dirty. They have thousands of animals condensed together in tight quarters. They're pumping them full of antibiotics, steroids. They're coming out with cloned cows, cloned pigs. I mean, it's frankenfood, and it's no wonder that a lot of people are beginning to ask for organic food and seeking alternatives. I mean, but if the government gets their way, we're not going to have a choice.
Right. That's the problem. Is that as people learn what's really in their food and how their food is being produced, they're trying to turn away from that. And so they're meeting more and more. We're finding these local movements and these food co-ops and these private buying clubs. In Maine, they're trying to pass food sovereignty laws that says that the government cannot, anything bought and sold in the town or in the county, can't be infringed upon by the federal government. I find it very sad that they find a need that they have to do that, because our federal government should not be down on our local food system.
Well, yeah, agreed. Now, what about, tell us about in Venice, California with Rossum Foods. What went down there?
Yep, Rossum Foods, again, was a private buying club in Venice, California, and it's been run for years. I believe it's about 8 to 10 years old. And they supply all raw dairy, fermented vegetables, lots of fermented foods too, like kefir, and organic vegetables and meat also to their private membership. And it was just a nice open air market in Venice, California, but it was private. You had to have a membership. And the federal government went, well, it was, I think as many as 7 agencies went in there and raided them, took all of their food, put the owner in handcuffs. And this happened, I think the third time was just a few weeks ago, where they took the owner and one of the former suppliers, Sharon Palmer from Healthy Family Farms, and threw them in jail. They weren't treated very well at all. I think that they were in jail for about 10 days. I think Sharon, the farmer, was in jail for even longer. And this is all, nobody ever got sick. This is all a private club. And this is all because they said they didn't have the proper licensing.
Well, as you were making the film, did you have friends and family that were just like, hey, this isn't happening, this can't be happening? And then when you finished the film and they got a chance to see it, did it make believers out of them? Did you change anybody's minds after seeing the film?
Yeah, the odd thing is that's why I had to make the film, because I was trying to get this issue publicized. I was calling mainstream media and trying to get other documentary makers to make a film about this. And people didn't believe me. But, there's been a big difference between when I started the film and now that I've finished it, because I feel like more and more people are waking up, and they're not as surprised for the most part, they're not as surprised as they were a few years ago that this is occurring. Sure.
Well, it's getting great reviews, and I'm looking here where the Los Angeles Times says it's an eye-popping wake-up call. And like I said, I did watch it for the first time last night. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an effective tool. I think it's going to make changes. So I think we get this out to friends and family members, pass this video along, and I think it's going to make a difference, like I said. Tell us more about what's happening now. Is there a movement? What can we do to stop this tyrannical takeover of our food supply?
It's state by state right now. The FDA is having monthly meetings with your state health departments, and I think these conversations are called Healthy People 2020. And it seems to me that the main goal in these conversations is to regulate the small farms. So, basically, number one, you can get involved with your state legislature to make sure that, to alert them of this, to alert them of the plight of the small farmer in your state right now. And form groups, form large, at least a small group and large groups if you can, and go meet with your representatives and tell them your concerns. Find out what is affecting your farmer in your state or your co-op in your state, and go talk to your state representatives.
Yeah, and I think those are all great ideas. The only thing I'm always concerned about, contacting our local representatives, it's a very good idea. It's just that it seems more often than not that a lot of these politicians, lobbyists, policymakers, they're in the back pockets of these big federal the big corporations that are taking over the local farming industry. But certainly a good idea. And I think the purchasing power, I think if we all band together, we join these co-ops, like you were saying, and we begin to purchase these organic foods, and then that's definitely a good way to make change as well.
Right. Keep your farmer in business while we're fighting.
That's right.
It's very true that most of the representatives are in the pocket of big ag, but the numbers can help. So if you just try to get the numbers up there, I'm hoping that it can make a change.
All right. Well, in closing, we're just about out of time. Anything else you want to add, to tell the people out there as far as actions they could take to stop this from happening as well?
Yep, the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund is a great organization that you can become a member. If you get in trouble in your co-op, they'll help defend you for free. And there's many other organizations. The Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance is right there in Texas, where you are. The Organic Consumers Association is fighting hard for labeling our food and for our freedom to drink raw milk. And I'm sure there's others. And there's others on my website. My website is farmageddonmovie.com.
That's right, farmageddonmovie.com. And this is about as important of an issue as it gets. I mean, our freedom to choose the food that we want is at stake here. So it's a real clear and present danger. And I want to thank you, Kristen, for joining us. You've been an awesome guest, and we look forward to having you hopefully again soon in the near future.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. And well, that just about does it for tonight's show. Thank you for joining us. Hey, don't forget that you could purchase Farmageddon on our website, INFOWARSshop.com. Buy a copy today, share the vital information with your friends and family, because it's only a matter of time, folks. If we don't stop this federal takeover of our food, they will completely dominate our entire food supply. You won't even be able to grow a garden in your own backyard. Mark my words, it is up to all of us to stop this from happening. Thank you once again for joining us. We will be back tomorrow night, Lord willing, 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, fight the New World Order, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.